whispering so incoherently that I'm forced into immediate reading.
When humans rose up against the thinking machines that had enslaved them.
Terminator spinoff opens with narration over a futuristic robot battle. Wait a minute, what show is this?
When war ended and all thinking machine technology was banned.
You know what would be cooler than telling me about the end of the robot wars? Showing me the end of the robot wars. Also shows guilt-tripping me with a ton of expositional narration, all because it knows there's less than a 1% chance I've read a Dune book written by the wrong Herbert. Jeez, what's the point of living in the future if you've got to walk through Arctic tundras?
Assigned to the great houses to help them sift truth from lies. But those who held power were inherently driven by violence and greed.
Wow, you mean the ruling elite who created a sisterhood of covert psychics to help them secretly maintain dominance weren't entirely on the up and up? Huh, ironic that you didn't see that coming.
Mother Rakella embarked on a secret project. She wanted to breed better leaders.
Siding with nature in the nature versus nurture debate. Also painting a future where certain organizations still push an agenda of, well, Vader and Hitler did have some good ideas.
She amassed a vast genetic archive. She would use it to foster the right royal unions and cultivate rulers we could control.
You know, this feels like a roundabout way of doing exactly what they were already created to be doing anyway, right?
That is why, in her final moments, she called for me.
By the old gods and the new, I know we've seen this already, but this relentless lore dump has been going on for almost 5 minutes. We've covered a robot war, a brief summary of Harkonnen history, the origin of the Sisterhood, advanced eugenics, a terminal illness, and when will it end? Any decent dungeon master knows to ease you in with a bar brawl first. Thinking that summoning the poster child of the Dune franchise will grant some immediate goodwill, which is even more disappointing when you realize it's doing the actually memorable Emily Watson a huge disservice.
We have to prepare. How? By putting one of ours on the throne.
Okay, hear me out. It's Game of Thrones, but it's in space. Nah, I think people are getting tired of that. Okay. Hear me out again. It's Star Wars, but with more politics. Sold!
We must keep pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human.
Thinking a funeral is ever the right setting for your TED Talk.
That is why Mother Rakella chose me to lead.
Did she? She told you to protect the sisterhood, but you don't have to be the leader to do that. Sometimes being the leader makes it too easy to lose your head in all the politics. Just ask Ned Stark.
Ever since you arrived, you and your sister Tula, you've thought too highly of yourself.
A pair of women with confidence, willpower, and self-esteem? What is this witchery? Strike them down immediately.
A new skill I've been honing.
I hope we get a bit more explanation behind the origins of the voice. I mean, I'd love to know why an organization who came up with an intricate language of hand gestures would also come up with the most obnoxiously unsubtle way of asserting their will.
And I will, if you bend.
Jessica Barden isn't asking me to bend to her in this scene.
What do we do?
Sisterhood above all.
Thanks, sister. We all love a platitude, but specifically, what do we actually do with the dead body? Also, what's she planning to do with the zealots who followed Dorothea? Do they die too? Sisterhood above all, as long as you agree with Valia, right? Hey, team, how far before Game of Thrones' House of the Dragon set? I think it's like 200 years or something. Well, we're doing a prequel too, but we don't want people to think we're ripping them off. It, 10,000 years should do it.
Excuse me, Sister Avila.
My cringe-o-meter says that's not how excuse me works. You say those words when you're the one who has to leave. When you want to dismiss someone else, you say something like, that'll be all, or I'm very busy, or get out of here, this is supposed to be my close-up.
Lying is among the most sophisticated tasks a brain can perform.
People who claim they understand Inception. Title of my sex tape? Are we saying that in 10,000 years, they're still using exactly the same goofy personal shield tech with zero improvements or workaround for the I can kill you as long as I do it slowly exploit?
Well, if you like barren landscapes and minimalism, you'll be very happy.
The one-line pitch for the entire show somehow makes it into the episode.
Your issues on Arrakis will be a thing of the past, and spice will flow.
Yay, my Dune bingo card is complete. Honestly, I'm quite impressed they waited a full 20 minutes before getting through Atreides, Arrakis, Sandworms, and Spice.
Your issues on Arrakis aren't going away.
Could we see some of those issues, please? You know, the Dune part of Dune Prophecy.
Trying to make a fool of me.
Discount Captain Picard is indeed a fool if he thinks he can't be heard from 5 feet away.
Very well, you have a deal.
He already had a deal. What he did here was renegotiate part of said deal. I guess you don't have to be all that smart to be the Emperor in this timeline.
Your mind and body must be within your control.
Which means martial arts montage, for some reason. I know she just explained it, but I'm calling her explanation dubious. Curb stomping people just doesn't seem like it would be handy for their job. That's all I'm saying.
I slit his throat in his sleep. Then I went home and did the same to my parents.
The looks on your faces.
Were they supposed to be trying to tell if Discount Arya was lying? None of the sisters did that finger-tapping, pupil-dilating thing. If they weren't trying to see if she was lying, what's the point of this story?
The boy is 9.
Every year before he comes of age is mine to do with what I will. I'd make him younger if I could.
Aw, ew.
What is it, Kieran?
There's a soldier here from Arrakis.
Kieran is de facto pronoun gaming here so that he can goose the tension with a name that is important to everyone other than me.
His story is true, Your Majesty. Or at least he believes it to be.
This lie detector talent is significantly less impressive if it can be fooled by what people believe the truth is. For example, some people genuinely believe they liked how Lost ended and are therefore by definition lying. These prophecies are like someone telling you their dreams, but edited by whoever made the videotape from The Ring. So congrats on finding a shortcut to making me creeped out and disinterested all at once.
We had no way of knowing what we would discover. A child held captive for years.
Okay, I'm confused. I thought they were breeding royals, not co-opting orphans. How can there be so much exposition and yet still so much I don't understand? And I'll say this about the show, I'm digging the sets. Not enough to take off a sin, but just enough to make me wish I was watching Dune Prophecy Cribs instead.
There was a time when you took my views seriously.
Was that before or after the person with actual superpowers turned up?
Acolyte bonds are forged in fire. They last a lifetime.
I mean, unless your fellow acolyte is about to destroy a genetic database, then to hell with your bonds. They get the knife. Oh boy, is it a T-Rex? Please let it be a T-Rex. Although, knowing our luck, they'd probably just discuss it to death. Also, letting a ship get this close to your school without warning or announcement. Aren't you guys like a super secret religious order of spies? How does an approaching ship catch you off guard?
What I saw was no ordinary nightmare.
Being skeptical of another sister's vision when you yourself rely heavily on visions to craft your plans and schemes for the entire sisterhood. Ignoring inconvenient truths is how you get an Arrakis, Reverend Mother. I'm laughing at this close-up because it looks like he only just realized what marrying his daughter to a 9-year-old actually means. It's as if he's thinking, shh, I didn't realize he was going to look 9 years old.
So it is blind obedience you want.
Being surprised when your older sister, who killed another sister to get her job, wants total obedience from all around her. You shouldn't need visions of the future to see that one coming.
So what do?
You don't actually have to speak?
Kids. The fact that pomegranates need 0 alterations to look like space fruit.
Whale fur. The finest in the known universe.
Furry whales. But I don't think shape-shifting robots are in keeping with our established aesthetic. Wasn't here, bozo. We've only managed 2 successful Dune movies, and I'm not even including that weird one with Sting in the 80s. Do you know how many Transformers movies there are? 7. 7 Transformers movies, bub. This must be the key to their success.
That technology is forbidden!
A technology that almost brought about the extinction of human life, but is somehow undetectable and allowed within inches of the Emperor and Empress.
Princess Inez, step aside.
For what? He's just a kid. Go after his father. I'm pretty sure the kid didn't build the thing in his garage.
After all our training, the princess will just stroll in here as an acolyte. How's that fair?
She's a princess. She's never known fair.
Sister Emmeline would be a sincere at monarchy sins.
Your Majesty, are you all right?
I don't know how any member of the royal family is all right, since none of them appear to have bodyguards or doors.
But I feel this wedding is wrong.
What was your first clue, mister? Discount Star Wars Cantina.
Don't worry, Doe Eyes. One way or another, our past always finds us.
I'd argue that's a perfectly sensible thing to worry about, actually. Zoom and enhance cliche. And yes, I know this is the future, but that's one technological bridge I don't believe we'll ever master.
Okay, I promise. I'm here now.
Wasn't that toy just stabbed? Why is it still working? Why does he still have it? Why is he engaged? This light appears to be following him, but is it now not following him? Now it just looks like a normal wall light. This is the weirdest technology we've seen, and that's including the sandworm summoning sand thumpers.
What are you doing out here all alone?
being as vulnerable as the plot needs him to be? Just a guess. Okay, everyone, we really want to show the Sandworms again, but the Check HBO wrote us, we'll only cover a second one if it's a 12-inch version in shitty resolution. Say less. We can work with that. Also, episode leaves me in brutal suspense wondering whether Desmond is pulling a Sand Jesus or Dune Jonah here. The bad news is that the marrying a 9-year-old thing didn't test well with the focus groups. The good news is that we've come up with a workaround that we think will be far less controversial. Also, you're telling me that in the royal f***ing palace, nobody heard a kid screaming bloody murder and came to investigate? The guards here don't suck. I'm assuming they don't f***ing exist. Why is the light following him again? How does it know? Don't make me wait until episode 6 to find out. I hate cliffhangers. Fingering us straight out of the gate because it's not TV, it's HBO. Wait. Oh man, they dragged that poor DNA strand from Prometheus into this mess. There's no cargo in here or anything to justify this big freaking door.
I appreciate the Sook School allowing you to return here at such short notice.
Just because I know school Sooks doesn't mean I know what the Sook School is. Here at TV Sins, your literary Easter eggs are null and void.
An acute imbalance in her meridian network.
Well, then I better prescribe this traditional Chinese medicine.
She knew something was coming. I should have listened.
But you did listen, and you tried to convince Valia to listen. She just chose not to. Episode doesn't remember the last episode.
That's no coincidence. That's an assassination.
Assuming assassinations can't be coincidental.
I'm leaving for Solusa Secundus.
Look, I know this is a stressful time, but is a booty call really gonna help?
I raised her.
But she's not your child.
Valia is a dick to step-parents. I absolutely love what they've done with King's Landing. Making bedroom eyes at a funeral. Wait until the reception, you monsters.
You know why we separate infants from their mothers when a sister gives birth?
It prevents bonds that one might hold above the sisterhood. That way we're all equals to one another. Why are you asking me?
Well, I couldn't think of a more natural way to deliver this exposition to the viewer. A pointless HBO sex scene between two characters we barely know cliché. Episode does little to help me understand the origin of Constantine's tree. Like, is it a metaphor for his wormwood?
Father kept us on different planets. Mine was located in a more remote region of the universe.
Playing the planetary pronoun game.
The real power is whoever controls the desert planet.
Constantine should know this by now, even if only through the accidental information osmosis that appears to happen during his royal sexcapades. Also, show wants me to believe that in the 10,000 years leading up to the Dune movies, they were unable to find spice somewhere else or come up with an artificial alternative. Or that they did both of these things and still had time to bungle it up so badly that humanity had to revive the steam engine.
What matters is those beautiful little flecks of orange dust.
Episode steals the opening line of my dissertation, The 3 Sides of Flavor, a treatise on the nacho cheese Dorito.
This is an absolute disaster.
It may only be the second episode, but I'm compelled to agree with you.
He says the worm gave him a gift.
The gift that keeps on giving everyone he encounters a burning sensation, and yet he still hasn't been tested.
You're preparing the Rossack poison.
You said that like I'm supposed to know what the Rossack poison is. Here at TV Sins, your literary... You know what? One sin for making me repeat myself. I'm beginning to think everyone in this universe is morose due to the garment industry having yet to discover anything other than earth tones. And the only pop of color to be found is blood spatter.
You're about to meet the most powerful people in the Imperium.
And I waited until now to tell you this because no one could be bothered to build a set for the inside of the space brick.
Mother Superior, this is unexpected.
Maybe Valia used the voice to keep her arrival secret, but I'm still putting another point in the guards here suck column.
And your spice operation.
No one sees these less than subtle hand gestures. Also, that's just the signal to steal second.
We should take his toll for that insolence.
Constantine should be more cautious about advocating the taking of appendages. Given his own mistakes, he may find that his penis is also on the table for the taking. Wait. Breathing. This shirt is doing nothing to keep her shoulders warm.
The library's amazing.
Reading.
Some volumes date back to the use of wood pulp.
I want you to tell me exactly how Kasha died.
Being this completely disinterested in wood pulp.
I would advise against playing games with me. I will win.
Valia wants to play Game of Dunes, but tries the same intimidation tactics as a child playing Mario Kart.
Shayla took my eye and granted me with a gift.
Was it another eye? The two you have in your face appear to be intact and functioning.
He speaks truth as he believes it, but what he claims is a lie.
All it takes to pass the Benny and the Jets lie detector is to delude yourself into thinking the lies are true. And instead of addressing this, Valia will spend way too much time auditioning for the voice.
Lest we turn the Imperium into a circus of fear and rumor.
That doesn't sound like fun at all. Episode doesn't know how to circus correctly.
You need to get the Duke in hand.
Stealing the Cone of Silence from Get Smart.
Hard to have a mission when you're dead.
RIPD deniers.
Direct descendant of distinguished war hero Vorian Atreides.
Horus isn't shown to introduce everyone who enters the room this way, making me feel like this dialogue is only here so the show could swing its Atreides around.
I need one final piece. Let me strike against Carino himself.
Episode puts a lot of faith in me caring enough about this final piece to bother remembering this is when it was referenced.
We need to announce this rebellion in a way that cannot be ignored.
Rebellion reveal parties.
You can't tame the other memory. You can't predict what voices will come when you unlock it.
Well, then why are you forcing her to risk her life to maybe speak to Raquella? What exactly are the odds that she'll actually show up? This makes the whole plan seem like the kind of last-ditch effort that makes no sense to attempt in episode 2.
The push and pull. We empower the great houses to maintain order and allow rebellion to keep that power in check.
This secret meeting at the docks cliche has time for casual banter about the mission of the Bene Gesserit cliche so that the show can do an insult the audience's intelligence cliche.
The rebel attack on the Harvester was a beautiful manipulation.
With the leader of the Sisterhood boldly talking about all this in public, I have to question how any of this has been kept a secret from anyone. That little hop's getting a sin, until Inez proves it's effective in a court of trial by combat.
Nice maneuver.
Nice maneuver? Not a single blow got past the shield or even made it blush.
We are all just pieces on the board to be played in the pursuit of power.
Has anyone made a Game of Drones joke yet? Because this is that.
I think if you were given a gift, you should use it, lest it be taken away.
But Desmond Hart got his powers from the worm. Can the worm even find him, let alone take the powers away? Episode needs to consult the rulebook for worm powers.
Why not let me show you how I would humble those who try to take from you?
It's not going to be anything different than the microwaving people thing you did to Pruitt and Kasha, so you really could have just told us.
To survive, she harnessed her body's own chemistry, transmuting the toxins on a cellular level.
Episode builds a tower of technobabble.
When you find yourself in darkness, seek the light.
Tula neglects to tell Lila that the light will be strobing and moving around like she's at a rave.
Your foremothers will waken wild, hungry.
The creative choice of having the foremothers wake up like the TV Sins narrator. Also, would it be so hard to transmute them a snack? My first and only mosh pit experience somehow makes it into the episode.
The key to the reckoning is one born twice. Once in blood.
Once in spice.
I have a much harder time taking your prophecy seriously when it rhymes. Just wanted to point that out. Also, George R.R. Martin's A Song of Spice and Blood.
What's happening?
Being the type of person that needs to be told, I don't know, I'm watching the show just like you. And by type of person, I mean my parents.
Harkonnen.
You stole my future.
Tula wasn't even there when you were stabbed. Oh no, not Lila. I was so attached to her after... Wait, what episode are we on? 2? Okay. I was so attached to her after 1.5 episodes.
I will tear you from that throne and feed you to the wolves and let them choke on you.
Ferdinand is a dick to the wolves.
Stop! Take out your blade!
The convenience of everyone in this universe having a blade. Can you imagine how embarrassing it'd be if she went to use the voice and the dude just had to be like, I don't have a blade. What do you do then, huh? Show waits until episode 3 to decide that deadly palaces may have guards, giving me a name of a planet I'll never remember instead of telling me how many years ago this was so I'll know it's a flashback. At least tell me how many years before Paul Atreides this scene is. Whales with fur. Thought it was just going to be a one-off joke, but here they are. I bet they're disgusting, like eating salmon with a wig.
I carved this for your collection.
Collecting teeth. Or is that a claw? Collecting body parts.
Your father has plenty of status.
Oh yes, the mayor of peasants.
Valia insults her immediate family by punctuating how great their ancestors used to be as if the people at this table weren't already aware.
Is she right? Am I entitled? Greedy?
Thinking we need a flashback to know the answer to this question that the show has already answered.
I mean, I was sinking, then I heard you. Your voice in my head, ordering me to swim.
Growing an aversion to flashbacks right when it would have actually been cool to see. Watching Valia in a desperate struggle to save her brother, unlocking the voice for the very first time, but, you know, hearing people talk about it in a desolate tundra is almost as exciting, I guess.
You're not entitled or greedy. You're extraordinary.
To be fair, she could be all three things.
That's why if you think the best course of action is to track down Vorian Atreides, and get him to take back his lies. I will.
That sounds like a terrible plan. It was a terrible plan. Also, what the f***? We don't even get to see a Harkonnen confront an Atreides about his lies and get struck down in the fight that ensues? Why is this series addicted to skipping all the cool scenes? Part of me is disappointed he isn't on a sled.
What if it's true that he is touched by the Maker?
The Maker? Is Desmond Hart from the Dragon Age universe here now? Can't wait to see him go up against Solus.
This came from Chula.
Risking using the Rebel Sister as your messenger. Why couldn't you send it directly to Valia via Sisterhood super secret mail?
She said the key to the reckoning was one twice born. In blood and in spice.
It's Desmond Hart.
Needing a vision quest to figure out things that are already this obvious. Lukewarm tea. I mean, there's no steam, and it's a tiny glass with no handle, so if it was hot, there'd be melting fingers. I see no melting fingers. Lukewarm tea. Sin. I guess sometimes tiny carved claw teeth things fall out onto the floor and no one notices around here. Revealing your torture devices to your future in-laws.
Now, this next part is tricky. Right, so you see this? There's a toxin in there powerful enough to kill a person.
Tricky? Oh, that's not tricky. Doing a kickflip is tricky. That's murdery.
Want to do the next one?
What? It takes years for Schiff to know how to prepare pufferfish, but you're just going to let this kid straight out of the woods f around with those powerful toxins? Trying to make me feel really bad for a horse after I already had to shut off the compassion part of my brain 2 episodes ago when you burned a 9-year-old child to death. Where did the syringe for the horse poison go? She was holding it in the previous shot, but here it's not in her hands. Did she stab her boyfriend with it?
What if the Imperium's corrupt?
Young Valia's that one edgy freshman in Intro to Philosophy who thinks they're being cool by asking questions like this. Shut up and let your professor finish the lecture so I can go back to my dorm and play more Halo.
Now she's all about humility and servitude.
Gross. She probably wouldn't even, for instance, poison one of us for arcane knowledge. What a loser.
I was going to be my brother's truthsayer when he went to the Landsrad. Then he was murdered.
Off screen. But they've talked about it a bunch, so you know everyone's really sad about it.
Sisterhood above all.
Sisterhood above all.
Sisterhood above all.
What a dumb final test. I would have been out of there so fast. As soon as it was even just a little bit windy, I'd be all Sisterhood above all, then be back inside curled up with a good book and an oil lamp, even though it's supposedly the future and not the 1800s. Sudden the voice when I'm trying to sleep, damn it.
When I lost my husband in the machine wars, it was like a limb torn off.
Every time they mention the machine wars, my eyes glaze over and I imagine steel clashing on steel, heroic speeches, gut-wrenching sacrifices, and something I'd actually enjoy seeing.
When we marry, is that a proposal?
Yeah, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Accidental marriage proposals. HBO thinking this is what I meant when I asked for more action scenes. I meant scenes where something interesting happens, not random characters I don't even care about doing the boingy bong.
I want to give you my life, my future.
Not being clear that you do not mean death. This mosquito net is infuriating me, and I don't even know why. Is it because this is the future? Is it because they have spaceships? Is it because they should have been able to easily eradicate mosquitoes or bioengineer them so they don't bite people? They have force shields.
I was afraid if you knew who I really am, you'd never allow yourself to get close to me.
Chatting up your next murder victim instead of just getting to the murder part as if the episodes have to be an hour long. They don't.
I'm sorry.
Confusing penitence with mild inconvenience. And that's the boy whose bloodline will eventually lead to Paul's in 10,000 years, isn't it? Damn it, Tula. It's your fault for not finishing the job, and now the galaxy will eventually get a Worm Emperor. Which, by the way, Worm Emperor was also the title of my second. Oh, look, she's crying, so I dislike her less for all the people she murdered. Yeah, that'll do it. Tula may have killed basically everyone, but because she did that, the bull gets to live. Woohoo! And bonus, it appears as a sign of Atreides' power to survive above all, or a sign of Harkonnen cunning and justice. I'm not sure what the bull means, actually. Maybe it's bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit.
Thou shalt not make a machine in the likeness of a human mind.
That gives you so many different types of machines to choose from, though. But they still have almost nothing. You could have cameras. You could have those electric bug zappers instead of those mosquito nets. I get that it's sci-fi fantasy, but I may as well be watching Downton Abbey most of the time.
From the time of the wars, we've been gathering DNA from across the Imperium.
Stealing Nick Fury's idea from Secret Invasion.
It's going to be me.
Butchering NSYNC lyrics.
I didn't think it would work so well.
Forgetting to be pissed about being mind controlled to slap your friend and just giving into the fun of it all.
I've also watched you both amass followers.
Not showing the Reverend Mother the same show we're watching. We have seen no such followers being amassed.
This phrase caught my eye. The suet has been enjoyed by all.
Reading other people's mail. That's f***ing rude. Just got dropped off in my spaceship. Now I gotta walk home because the frozen land has no cool space sleds, apparently.
Or Atreides is dead.
They all are.
Shame Valia doesn't use her truthy magic right about now.
You shouldn't have come back. You've done enough.
I'll take your word for it, guy who had 2 seconds of screen time before this scene.
Did you even think how that massacre will blow back at us?
Show's asking me to think about a massacre blowing back on them, but forgets that we're often in the future where there appeared to be no real blowback.
Pick up a knife!
Valia tells someone to pick up a knife. Cliché.
What are you doing?
Getting ready to watch an entire family get sliced, but then it doesn't happen, and I'm oddly disappointed and wondering if I'd rather be watching the Red Wedding all over again to make up for the lack of anything interesting happening in this scene.
Sorceress!
This is the future. Why not upgrade sorceress to a neato sci-fi word like Warpenschwelt? Also, the exhausting part of this family is that their anger is pointed to Valia all the time. Sure, she pushed for revenge, but is it her fault for her siblings' choices? With that logic, it could just as easily be the mother or father's fault for not doing a better job of convincing the children to not kill. Anyway, this scene reminded me of awkward Thanksgivings, and I hate it. Microdosing alone in the wilderness. Aw, yeah. Finally get to see Valia wake her foremothers and become a Reverend Mother. Aw, this is gonna be so cool. Wait, that's it? 3 quick flashes of whispers and shadows? That's it? Damn it, Dune Prophecy. This foremother is one of the coolest parts of the series so far, and you speed past it at 70 miles per hour? Here's 9 cents for robbing me of yet another really cool scene. Ah, they look foreboding. I'd like to think all of her ancestors are ashamed of her hatred of whale fur.
I survived.
Yeah, we could tell by the whole not being dead thing.
Promise me the Sisterhood will be a fresh start for us.
Asking your sister to make promises you know she won't keep. These characters I don't know will now spend all the some time saying goodbye to a character I barely knew.
Aunt Valia, what an unexpected surprise.
Is it a surprise? I don't even know who you are. Generally, for surprises to be surprising, I need some context.
I know how difficult that was for you. Letting Lila go.
Not being able to use your truthy powers, and since your sister is full of shit and keeping a massive secret. How the hell did she sneak the body down there? I get that Lila is tiny, but it's still, dead weight. And what were you going to do with the body? Is there not an actual funeral planned? No burial? No cremation? Just off of life support and somebody else's problem?
Spice can rejuvenate the mind.
I feel like you're just mentioning spice here because you think we'll forget that we're watching a Dune product. And the real sin is that you're correct. Show yada yada yadas past Mother Raquel keeping a thinking machine in the basement of her school after one killed her husband, and I'm just so tired that I can barely summon the energy to care. So just take 3 sins and let's get to the next episode. The people behind Dune Prophecy heard your complaints about how boring the first 3 episodes were and open up the 4th episode with 21 seconds of a character washing their face and staring in a mirror. Also, how sanitary could this sink setup possibly be? Who's keeping the area the water's flowing over clean? How is the entire Sisterhood not constantly trying to figure out who's giving who pink eye?
This isn't funny.
What the TV Sense team, along with the entire viewing audience, has been saying for the first 3 episodes somehow makes its way into episode 4. Does everybody in this universe carry a knife just in case? Even when sleeping? How often do throats need to be slit in the Duneverse? Who's cleaning up all that blood? Hopefully not the same person who has sink duty. Jen discovers that everyone's having nightmares, but Sho doesn't have the robotic balls to make Freddy Krueger the nightmare culprit. They already introduced the worms that possessed him, and Freddy's dead, the final nightmare and everything. Dune Prophecy had an in, and they blew it!
It's all right. It was just a dream.
Trying to sell your friend on it was just a dream after she wakes up in the midst of trying to slit her own throat open.
Aunt Valia, I can't believe this is the first time we've had you at our table.
I can't believe the series expects me to know who these men are.
Ousted from the palace, nowhere to go but the family she shunned.
Well, you didn't shun her family. She was kicked out, remember? That's like boycotting a store and then getting mad when they don't send the coupons anymore.
What happened at the royal engagement?
That Richese boy was murdered.
They're starting to refer to it as the Red Wedding. Not sure where they got that name from, but the execs, the kingdom, the Duners seem to think it will stick.
What are you after, Harrow?
Better incentives for the whale fur trade.
Having access to getting anything you could ever want and wasting that ability on further investment in the whales with the fur. I bet if Harrow ever got a genie and 3 wishes, one of those wishes would be for more math assigned at sand school, and the other 2 wishes would be wasted on black licorice and more facial hair. F***ing Harrow.
He's afraid that the other houses laugh at him.
Gonna guess having 99.5% less of his conversation be about the whale fur trade would increase those odds in Harrow's favor quite a bit.
Never had such riches.
Inviting a child murderer to eat breakfast with the family. I understand wanting to keep Desmond Hart on the Emperor's good side is a useful weapon, but it's not like Palpatine invited Vader to eat breakfast with him and Rey's parents every morning.
What bothers me is the disrespect. The talking behind my back.
That is the definition of a rumor.
Inez Corrino would be the princess of TV sins, and she wouldn't have to marry a child to get that appointment.
There's no proof the boy was murdered. It's absolute nonsense.
Mark wrong.
Your new attack dog murdered Pruitt.
Being this upset about the fiancé's murder when Emmeline threatened to gut him like a pig if he didn't get rid of his little robot toy.
Reverend Mother Tula, there are stories about Mother Dorothea.
The Dune franchise is 63% your mom stories, and not nearly as funny as that statistic should warrant.
The governing body of the Landsraad brings stability to our growing Imperium.
Governing body to check the Emperor's power sets up a pretty cool political minefield and introduces fascinating possibilities to this world. So here's a sin for waiting until episode 4 to introduce your Landsraad. Wasn't very rad of you to do that.
What you seek, seeking you.
Holy books with text that even a fortune cookie factory would have rejected.
My father, when he walked into a room, all eyes would look at him.
Using the daddy issues crutch in place of actual character development.
Time to snuff a fire out.
Is when a fool lights a match. Not after your house burns down around you.
Are matches still used in this future? What advanced technology exists outside of spaceships? Everything in this universe seems extremely similar to what we have now.
Don't trust you.
We can all trust this, though. 10 million Solari.
Citation needed.
Don't call me jury, don't worry for nothing.
I don't know who they is, but they should be able to come up with better nicknames, or they should be called the Terrible Nickname Police.
This will do all the things you want, but better.
It's too bad the Dune people banned all thinking machine devices. What one wouldn't give at this point for a thinking device that is able to track when another thinking device is being used? I guess no one thought to think of that thinking device, I think.
So no issues with the Ixion.
That's Exist.
Making the Imperium better comes at a cost. You ready to pay it?
Sounds like the people who will die in the explosion will be paying the cost. Unless this knockoff Elijah Michelson is going to stay behind in the blast.
The rebels are using a thinking machine.
Believing that calling your AI a thinking machine will make it sound cooler and less cliche. Did the Terrible Nickname Police come up with this term as well?
Is there truth in this rumor of the boy's death?
Our mentats calculate the odds of immolation by toy malfunction at 1 in 2.5 million.
Answering a question, any question, with math.
But to launch a formal inquiry is within the power of the great houses.
And if that inquiry yields no wrongdoing by the Emperor?
Then it could be perceived that whomever launched the accusation is challenging his rule.
A treasonous act. Our house cannot suffer such a risk.
So the great houses can investigate the Emperor, but if he's proven innocent of charges, whoever launched the investigation committed treason? This makes less sense than the American justice system, and that's a low bar to clear.
Shouldn't you be out doing what you sisters do?
Valia should add dramatic timing to her list of what are appearing more and more to be unstoppable powers.
House Harkonnen's new truthsayer.
Impressive.
It's impressive that his aunt came to visit? Wait until this guy finds out about family reunions. Gonna blow his mind.
With your robust trade experience in whale fur.
Expecting me to take an episode seriously that has uttered the words whale and fur together twice.
The past branded us, but the future can redefine our name.
As long as you can wait about 10,000 years.
The spice will help you open your mind's eye.
An institute that encourages students to do drugs. The sin is how pissed I am this college didn't exist when I was a student.
Now, take your charcoal.
This drawing while on drugs section of the episode charcoals on for all the some time.
Open your eyes.
If only there was some kind of voice that one could use to order their students to awake from the shared nightmare. Oh, if only.
They choose where they want the future to go.
Technically, we all choose where we want the future to go by making decisions. The future is simply the consequences of humanity's choices. I didn't need 3.5 episodes of hyperbolic nonsense spewed at me to understand that concept.
Tomorrow, we purge the sins of the Imperium, but tonight, let us be the sinners.
We will choose who are and aren't the sinners, thank you. That's kind of in our title and everything.
You're never going to last if you don't allow yourself a little fun along the way. That's never been my problem.
Episode has time for this.
Warren Atreides was offered the throne and rejected it.
Not sure I want to give the people behind this any new ideas, but with that being said, I'd love to watch a series about Vorian and the machine wars he stopped instead of whatever the this is.
Sometimes you have to burn a thing down before you can save it.
Celebrating potential arsoning. Also, while there aren't actual dragons on this series, or at least not yet, that line sounds so Game of Thrones, I'm still going to ding the out of it.
Your talent.
It's not a talent.
It's a last resort.
Stealing Papa Roach's one talent. It's all they have, people. Well, maybe getting away with murder. No, you know what? Last resort is all they have. Don't you dare bring up scars. I will burn it all down if you bring up scars.
Well, then we must tell everyone before it consumes us all.
If we did that, Sister Avila, it would cause hysteria.
The show thinks it's being clever by having Tula and Avila switch places on the whole "this would cause hysteria" response, and I invite Dune Prophecy to contemplate how little I give a shit.
We cannot hide this from our sisters.
How could they hide this from the sisters at this point? The sisters are well aware they close encountered a bunch of drawings up while in a trance. It's too bad it was with charcoal and not mashed potatoes, though. Then, at least after all the craziness passed, the mashed potatoes would have provided a nice treat.
You're talking about betraying father. In public. I like my head where it is.
A good chunk of this series involves scenes of rich kids trying to decide whether or not they should let the world know their daddy allows child murderers to roam free. For the love of David Zaslav, who thought this would be entertaining material for a show involving one of Warner Brothers' largest IPs? The simple blandness of the Dragon House show is looking better every f***ing week this show airs a new episode.
The Sisterhood saved you.
You stayed with me. And that saved me just as much as they did.
The point of view sisters have about their brothers. Maybe not as damaging as a mother telling her child that they're always the best, but still falling a little too closely to the "we all deserve trophies" narrative that needs to go away immediately. 1 full minute of people preparing for a political event that wasn't even hinted at in the prior 3 episodes.
It'll blow over.
Stealing your political strategy from Sean James Riley.
You decided to attend.
Based on Constance's inability to simply leave the breakfast table earlier when his father demanded he stay, I'm not sure I believe that Constance has the right or backbone to refuse to attend these festivities.
May his reign shine as long as the stars.
The average star lives between 50 million and 20 billion years. Good luck stretching the reign that long.
The High Council will now hear bills of particulars for submission.
Episode takes 42 minutes and 16 seconds to get to the bills of particulars for submission.
Baron, the members of the High Council are all familiar with the strictures of vendetta. Your house knows the forms better than anyone.
In jokes at High Council meetings.
I can answer that. The Imperial House.
Dune Prophecy attempts to give Inez a Padma Amidala moment in the Senate. And it might have worked great if we'd seen her practicing politics or the Senate in action in the previous 3 episodes. Here it feels deflated and unearned.
Want order?
What was the signal for these guards to bring in the arrested men? Were they just waiting for the child killer to speak at all? Did Inez walk right past them in the hall? This disruption following a disruption feels more like a convenient train wreck than a grand political twist.
I've seen desert owls swoop down and rip soldiers' necks with their talons.
Could we see some of those super cool desert owls? No? Just gonna talk about them briefly?
Then there are the scorpions, the wandering spiders, and the wasps.
Travis Fimmel is absolutely killing this role as Desmond Hart. He's a great antagonist with such a freakish amount of charisma that I'm always intrigued when he's on screen. So I'll remove a sin, just one, and I'm sure I'll be giving it back soon when the show decides to talk about something cool instead of showing it.
Much like how this whole council would have been executed today had rebels detonated this thinking machine as they had planned on doing.
I don't know how thinking machine technology works, but is it safe to smash the robot that was going to detonate like a bomb? I feel like that would, detonate the bomb.
There are predators in our midst.
I wish. I'd even settle for a gremlin or a critter even at this point.
And we need a leader who will chase those predators away!
Attempting to anoint Chris Hansen as your next emperor.
On your order, Your Majesty.
Turning a simple curtsy into the most terrifying f***ing thing I've seen in a while. How am I supposed to ever watch Princess Diaries, or even more importantly, Princess Diaries 2 again? How the f*** did this character's cover remain intact when they caught the guy who sold him the thinking machine? He should be up there burning with the rest of them. They're starting to refer to this event as the Purple Wedding. Not sure where they got that name from. There's not even a wedding taking place, but the execs, I mean the kingdom, the Duners seem to think it will stick. Why didn't Desmond kill Valia at this point? Or at least her nephew? These two were clearly involved in a plot against the Emperor. That's twice now Desmond could have absolutely wiped the floor with her, and for reasons I can't understand, he chose not to. Massaging a child murderer's shoulder without his explicit consent.
You won't be able to silence me like you silenced Dorothea.
Again, Tula didn't silence Dorothea. Valia did. Tula wasn't even present when it happened. Why do characters keep accusing Tula of Valia's crimes?
Lila, you're alive.
Yay? I honestly don't know what I'm supposed to be feeling in this show anymore, but I do know what I am mostly feeling is akin to that itch you get when you use a different detergent on your jeans, and then that's the day you decide to go commando. And animosity. I should have just gone with animosity. I feel animosity.
Where am I?
You appear to be standing in a PlayStation VR chat room, Lila.
You took Griffin from us.
All of these houses always want to f*** with Gryffindor, which I get. The one they never f*** with, though, is Hufflepuff, because no one f***ing cares about Hufflepuff. I said no one.
Did I push you too far?
Aside from convincing his brother to get himself killed by an Atreides, discount the good doctor. Getting dressed, changing clothes, donning outfits. Excitement?
As far back as humanity's time on Old Earth.
Naming the host planet Old Earth and never showing us New Earth. If there's no New Earth, why call the original planet Old Earth? Isn't it still just Earth?
I performed my duty. If my father gave you orders to watch me, then you'd better keep up.
Kids.
You were born to wear that uniform.
Natalia is flirting so hard with Desmond here, it's as if she knows the Emperor's former mistress is about to show up. Did Natalia read the script? Mark Strong looks super serious, but not very strong. Cliché.
Did no one inform you this was a private affair?
That's a good point. Another sin for the useless palace guards here at the heart of the Imperium. On what grounds would she be allowed in to see the Emperor? That they fornicated at least once? Because I don't think the Zap Brannigan maneuver exists in this universe.
Your orders are to guard my sister, not prevent me from seeing her.
To be fair, part of a guard's duty is to prevent people from seeing who they're guarding. That's like guarding 101.
He was proud.
And I was. Skip.
Heat is just energy.
Oversimplifications.
Whose eyes watch from the darkness?
Interrupting class with your drama instead of just barging into Tula's office on your own time. These girls are training to become super spies and you're disrupting their studies. Do you have any idea what tuition is at Bene Gesserit University?
Remember your duty or leave. Those are the options. The choice is yours.
But what about the choice to get with this or the choice to get with that? I really wanted to get with this because this is where it's at.
Is your sleep still uninterrupted?
Do you mean have I had the dream? No. I don't know why.
Maybe you're resistant to it.
Tula has zero clue why the sister's dreams even started, but because Sister Jen hasn't had the dream yet, Tula assumes that means the sister's immune to the dream. And even though she's right, doesn't make this one crazy convenient guess any less crazy or convenient. People scares.
I have missed you so much!
I love the sentiment, but she's been gone for a day. Calm down. Most of us don't even remember who Lila is, nevertheless that she was supposed to be dead.
Now, I need you to stay here with her because you are her friend.
Immediately dumping nursing duties on a student who just found out their best friend didn't actually die.
How is the other side of the universe?
I don't know. For some reason, this Dune series seems allergic to showing us the one planet we all know and love to see. Where is Arrakis?
Come sit.
Offering someone a seat on a backless stool. Do you want your guests to have back pain? Because this is how your guests get back pain.
For a time, pirates were hijacking every other shipment of my whale fur.
Going into the first season of this series, I didn't have someone mentions whale fur on an episode of Dune Prophecy cliche on my cliche bingo card, but here we are. But also, they got the Mesolithic machines, whales with the fur. The show is slow.
They must have gone through the underground market.
They must have gone through the underground market.
To sell the spice, to raise the Solari, to buy the thinking machine.
So your grand revelation is that rebels sold spice on the black market? And how is that not something Desmond has already considered?
It's a start. But to clear your name, I'll need proof that your aunt is involved.
Dune Prophecy, which is set in the distant future, will now rely on one character wearing a wire to get a confession from another. What's the point of having a distant future if the technology and uses for said technology are basically the same as they are now?
We're looking for insurgents. You want to come?
Is that normally a task that the Royal Swordmaster would participate in? What's the point of having an elite unit of soldiers if you're going to need the Swordmaster to... Oh, you just wanted to fake us out and make us think Atreides had his cover blown. I see now. False tension is false. Thinking that doing the same thing Paul Atreides does in the movies will make me care about your character more, but it didn't, and I don't.
Come on. Horace would want you to be safe.
If you think Horace would want me to run, you obviously didn't know him that well.
If I could remember who the Horace was, then maybe this exchange would mean something more than 30 seconds of my life disappearing. This one shot does a better job of visualizing how badass Sisterhood can be than that one scene in Avengers Endgame did. But then the episode decides not to deliver on any kind of badassery that a shot like this promises.
I should have done more.
It's not your fault.
Lila's right. You've had like 5 minutes of screen time in 5 episodes. There's not much more you could have done.
Where is Valia?
You're not Lila.
We're about to find out that Mother Raquella has overtaken Sister Lila's body, and there is zero reason for Raquella to keep Sister Jin in suspense about who she is. This feels 100% more of a twist for the audience than anything that makes sense from a character perspective. Also, 6-episode miniseries has time for a split personality subplot / ancestral possession ex machina. I couldn't decide which sin to go with, so I decided to hit Dune Prophecy with both.
Did she and Valia ever resolve their differences?
You can possess Lila, but you can't talk to Dorothea while you're both dead? The first thing Dorothea should have said to you in the afterlife was, Valia murdered me. I'm gonna need some rules for how this works. Vanity.
What are you up to?
What we're always up to, Harrow.
Daring to name your character Harrow, as though this is a Gideon the Ninth miniseries instead of a Dune prequel.
I must go. My ship departs in a few hours.
My parents' demands whenever they want to get to the airport 3 hours before their plane departs somehow makes its way into this episode. Adultery.
I didn't come here to drive a wedge between you and your wife, Vico.
Because that would create actual drama. And Dune Prophecy clearly only wants uninteresting surprise twists and people yelling about thinking machines in its series.
I said I was not to be disturbed unless it's an emergency.
Making the didn't want to be disturbed unless it's an emergency claim before opening the door and finding out whether or not it's an actual emergency.
What kind of abomination is this?
Where exactly is the line for abomination in this future? You were all set and fine with Lila communing with the dead. Is resurrecting the dead a line too far? What are the f***ing rules?
God created Arrakis to train the faithful.
Just that one planet exists to train the faithful? So how exactly were the faithful trained before leaving Earth? Was faith a new concept once Earth was abandoned? That'd be a storyline to follow that carries way more dramatic weight than anything that's happening in this series so far. If you keep staring at the bombs, don't you risk alerting the guard who is looking right at you? Aren't you a trained spy? Why didn't this guy's shield stop any of these blows? These things are so selectively effective.
Don't let me see you again.
So this guy's upset because his co-conspirator turned out to be a sister. But what does that really change in terms of the rebellion? If your goal's to overthrow the Emperor and she's helping you, what do you care about her personal affiliations? Especially when you were having second thoughts about the rebellion yourself.
I've had to learn about the great Carinos, Roderick, Jules, and the Butlers before them.
Series once again expects me to have read any of its 30 books to recognize these names, and Series needs to understand how we feel about reading in these parts.
Sorry I don't have a glass for you.
Then offer her a drink from the bottle. That's your mother. She's immune to your cooties. Constantine doesn't know how cooties work.
The reason you were brought into this world is to protect your sister, the future leader of the Imperium.
Forcing a purpose on your child and not letting them do what they want to do with their life.
It's not my performance that I'm doubting, Mother Superior.
Careful how you finish that sentence.
That was a complete sentence. She was finished with the sentence before you cut her off. I believe what you meant to do was warn her about her follow-up sentence, Mother Superior. Also being surprised when the spy cult you've dedicated your life to suddenly makes questionable choices that negatively impact you.
This will get you to our safe house on Arrakis.
Can she take the rest of us with her? I'd really love to see some Arrakis in my Dune prequel. Leaving incriminating evidence unguarded in a sword cabinet used by multiple people. How is Atreides not already blown his cover? Giving Hunger Games Katniss bows in my Dune prequel.
In recognition of the man you've become.
That looks like they're toasting with orange juice. And I bet the Emperor didn't even warn everybody to not brush their teeth before they came to dinner. F***ing Emperor. Did the guards just let her walk into the prison? Earlier, they wouldn't let the princess out of sight. They wouldn't even let her brother in to see her. These palace guards do not know how to palace guard correctly. She's already trained as a fucking truth sayer? So let me get this straight. She can fight like a sister and use their magic lie detecting powers. What's left for her to study on Wallach 9? How to have bad dreams?
Bloodline Atreides. Bloodline Harkonnen. Match identified.
Dune Prophecy has turned into a second-rate episode of Maury Povich, and the sin is for the fact that I'm not even sure I'm mad about it. This episode is 37% adultery, and only 9% as exciting and alluring as that sounds. It was a dark and stormy nocturnal phase of the diurnal cycle. Cliché.
You sound child.
The Ancestral Whispers audition tape for There Will Be Blood somehow makes it into the script. Also, I had to decipher those whispers myself because the captions, for the most part, have completely ignored them all season, making life more difficult for Dune Prophecy fans. Dune Prophecy fans.
I honor my grandmother, but this great work of hers must be destroyed.
Turns out Tula and friends were there in the room, and that their role in Dorothea's murder was essentially the same as when I saw them run down the stairs in the first episode. Thank you, flashback from a different perspective that reveals no new information to the viewer.
I had no choice, Tula.
Thinking you didn't choose to murder like some kind of cult leader instead of choosing to craft a manipulative argument like some kind of cult leader.
I'm pregnant. Then I will support you.
Touching someone's belly immediately after learning they're pregnant without explicit consent. Obscuring what I must assume is a large and impressive bean.
It's a bioweapon.
Thing my roommate says every time I bring home Arby's somehow makes it into the episode.
Well, the good news is it's a physical contagion. That means we can transmute it, like Raquel did.
Bearing the lead while confusing which part of her statement was actually the good news.
We could produce an antiviral, altering molecules that already lie within us.
Insulting the intelligence of your doctor and your audience by explaining yet again what transmute means.
Mother Tuna, this will be a dangerous procedure. With my medical training, I am
a minor character who can be killed off with little plot consequence just to show the audience how dangerous the virus is.
The first stage is to isolate the foreign agents.
Backseat transmuting.
Good, it's working.
This premature, weak-ass celebration. The closed captioning on Max says cells slithering. I don't know if my cells do that. I don't want to know. Set design said, I don't know what this room is used for, but you can't go wrong with a spare uterus closet. The quickest path to lazy henchmen is letting the suspension tech do most of the heavy torturing.
My father used to tell me a bedtime story about a monster who lived among his people when he was a boy. He made sure I knew never to trust a Harkonnen.
Which is odd, because when Tula poisoned the Atreides beefcakes in episode 3, she was using the surname Vale.
Every moment she's in that cell puts her at risk.
Of what? The suspension cell seems pretty secure from everyone but you, and I'm thinking Inez probably won't be shanked in the yard.
In responsible hands, any tool can be used for the betterment of humanity.
Someone wrote this line being fully aware of the fleshlight.
Our entire race nearly died fighting machines.
I would have rather seen that instead of whatever this season has shown me.
Processes only the problems we feed it.
Ignoring the OC Bible verse, TV Sins 4:4, AI shall not live on problems alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of man.
Unless we send someone to keep Avaco occupied until Natalia is ready to stand by his side.
The Sisterhood's plan hinges on Javaco's Salusa getting secundist because it's not TV sins, it's HBO sins.
Couldn't help but be worried about a child of the Atreides. Our bloodlines have never intersected until now.
Show wants me to think that not even going back another 10,000 years would yield some evidence of a Harkonnen and Atreides taking a trip to the Bone Zone.
Anaral, my son was not born a weapon.
Well, no baby is born a weapon, but it is an unavoidable developmental stage. I can't be the only one who sees a butthole here, right?
Can you not at least loosen the restraints?
They look pretty loose already. Also, this works.
Which is why I've decided to send her on a tour of goodwill.
Do you want to end up with a polyester leisure suit? Because a tour of goodwill is how you end up with a polyester leisure suit.
Why are you cloaked in silence and chattering in secrecy?
Because the show wants me to know that women be scheming.
The Butlerian sisters who disbanded after Dorothea's suicide.
Suicide? No.
Dropping this bombshell and just walking away.
The Mentat sisters keep logs.
I don't know what a mentat is because I don't read, but I think saying my computer holds files is more about the Easter egg being dropped than it is about delivering relevant information.
You will learn your place, acolyte.
Disney.
They're gone, all of them.
But why is Lila gone? Mother Dorothea seems to have a permanent hold on Lila's body, while Mother Raquel could only possess her for a little while.
Only the Mother Superior, Valia, Harkonnen.
Even with all the valid reasons to dislike Valia, show continues to make it feel like she's being bullied because of her last name.
Even if you get yourself in, how will you get her out?
Tom Cruise will have to do a completely unnecessary stunt and then an entire press tour talking about it. Wait, what am I watching again?
Theodosia was bred by Talaxan geneticists.
I was their experiment.
And no other information about what this means or why it's important will be necessary, because there's only one kind of experiment.
You won't be disturbed here.
Maybe, but this hallway is just about the least private place you could have found in the whole palace for Theodosia to do this.
And Haviko?
Instead of just saying that she would have to stab him with the poison, Valia needs to do a dramatic unboxing.
The needle is coated in metacyanide.
Making self-referential cyanide.
Oh, this house is still yours, Haviko.
Being concerned about real estate at a time like this.
We've been shaping your path since before you were born.
Javiko was already a young prince when we saw Honorul identify him as a paternal prospect. The before you were born part is confusing, and Valia's been meddling with his life long enough for him to be freaked out without this kind of embellishment.
Why are you telling me this?
To flex on Javiko in a way that only has me mildly aroused and involves a bunch of unnecessary villain exposition. The Sisterhood would get more done if they didn't spend so much time hanging out around the pool. Convenient crowbar is convenient. Every time these sisters are seen learning, they're always standing crowded around one reader. So the sin is schools that hate books and chairs. Not a single one of these choosy sisters chooses Jif.
We need to leave.
Not without him.
I guess the voice is no match for the power of Inez's lady boner.
Sir, I need to speak with you. Then speak.
Desmond would be excellent at the guards in this place are terrible sins.
Sisterhood above all.
Since Theodosia has taken on the form of the guard, I can confidently say that all this setup and shape-shifting to look like Inez, which happened earlier, resulted in 0 instances where it was useful, necessary, or entertaining. A sister who's been trained to transmute poison in their body has just died from poison, adding that ability to the list of things that will or won't work depending entirely on the needs of the plot.
I have come to you to unearth the truth.
A truth that will not contain an explanation for this 20-foot deep pool that you have to die to swim in.
These are the remains of our most faithful.
This is not the selling point I'm getting the feeling she thinks it is. Also, Dune skeleton crew. After all the drama around who was going to get the key to Raquel's work, I'm sad to see this door so easily defeated by a crowbar. We now go live to a cave rave in Budapest. Being hostile towards cool light shows.
Barely in the world and already you know so much sadness.
A bunch of horrible stuff happened before the baby was born, and I'm led to believe a bunch of horrible stuff will happen to him later, but nothing is known to have happened during or around his birth. Why is Line?
You are so special.
She's based this entirely on information received from Anna Rule GPT.
I'm trusting you to get her to safety. You owe me that.
I'll do for her.
Who the cares why you do it? Just go. You're being chased, remember?
Stay where you are.
Going with stay where you are when you finally have a group who are all obviously carrying blades. Also, these damn shields once again prove to be stupid and worthless, so I'm sitting them again. The long-awaited showdown between Valia and Desmond turns into a very strange and befuddling breathing contest. That's not how sound works. Valia's subconscious, or whatever, should know that. The odds of the first people Tula seeing being Inez and Kieran.
You need to report to the checkpoint.
Saying this to a person already bloodied and carrying a sword. Sword fight contains so many cuts that you end up not really seeing any actual cuts.
You can't run from it. You can't fight. You have to let it pass through you.
Taco Bell. So the eye wasn't taken, as you suggested in episode 2. It just got selected for Pimp My Eye. Then Exhibit showed up, put screens everywhere, and completely destroyed the resale value.
His eye is the virus.
It's definitely infected, but the eye is not now a virus, right? That doesn't make any sense. Dune series takes 6 episodes to properly Arrakis.
Come, princess.
Valia forgets to use the voice.
The path to our enemy begins here.
This confirms my suspicions that the past 6 episodes were irrelevant. Also, teasing a second season of Dune narcolepsy that I'm absolutely sure we're never going to. Beans, it's happening, isn't it?
You son of a bitch, you moved the cemetery, but you left the bodies.
Jerry, I'm trapped under my desk. Steinbrenner's in the room. You gotta help me. Hammer time!
And there is only one thing we say to death. Not today.
His story is true, Your Majesty. Or at least he believes it to be.
Then why wasn't I informed?
It's not a lie, if you believe it.
In the dark.
Shall I describe it to you? Or would you like me to find you a box?
You're a slave? I'm a person, and my name is Anakin.
It's not an airplane, Colonel. It's a flying brick on approach, and you got to use your onboard computer.
Emotions cloud judgment, Tula.
Why are you talking like Yoda?
You've done it before.
This ain't a test, just take a hit.
This is madness.
This is Sparta!
Mother Superior, this is unexpected.
So we are officially jumping the gun.
What brought you to the palace?
I've been tracking a bounty hunter named Django Fett.
Our founder, Mother Rakella, was poisoned. To survive, she harnessed her body's own chemistry, transmuting the toxins on a cellular level.
Which was the style at the time?
Harkonnen.
Kill the Furian! Kill the Riddick!
Mother Superior.
You jumped the gun again.
Stop! Take out your blade!
We got drama!
Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!
Farm boy, polish my horse's saddle. I want to see my face shining in it by morning.
As you wish.
I told you to let it breathe.
We're a minute in the woods and we're doing this.
Run, Forrest, run! Run, Forrest!
What's this blue stuff, eh?
Oh, it's called a cartail. Stupid new American fad.
There was sand.
Sand?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating.
Captain's log, stardate 2263.2.
The past branded us, but the future can redefine our name.
Future!
No one could see beyond this moment.
This means something.
Hard line against thinking machines must be drawn.
The line must be drawn here.
Sister Francesca, what a surprise. Did no one inform you this was a private affair?
To f*** off and go back to Westworld.
Remember your duty or leave. Those are the options. The choice is yours.
You're fired. Go.
You are audacious.
You don't know the meaning of the word!
Let's go shopping!
I'll give you some advice. Do not ever make the mistake of thinking you can become the man you are pretending to be.
That doesn't make sense.
I didn't come here to drive a wedge between you and your wife, Vico.
I'm horny!
You have abandoned all because he was sick and you have sinned.
Collaborate and listen.
We're not Mother Superior.
We're jumping the gun.
Your cells are transmuting it.
You sure about that?
The Atreides.
Sexual Jedi.
You tell Mother Superior.
We're jumping the gun.
There you are.
Austin Powers!
The Sisterhood draws women from many worlds.
Like one of your French girls.
You say you've seen my end.
Everybody's got a cute butt. I have a cute butt.
Sister Avila. You choose me?